Hey, this is Sasha. Thanks for joining me in this week's episode. And today what I want to do is share with you the 6 crappy things when it comes to freelancing that nobody really tells you about and some things you need to watch out. So stay tuned. I'm going to share with you some of these thoughts all about freelancing or if you're doing work on your own. All right, so there's a lot of people that want to get into freelancing. And for me, I used to do a ton of freelancing. I used to do a lot of web development. I did a lot of graphic design back when I first started, a lot of blogs. Back then it was just websites or article sites. Sold a lot of those things. And now I have a team that helps me out to take care of some of these things. And from time to time, I may do some of them because it's fun for me. But in general, if you're starting to freelance and you're trying to get into the freelancing world and freelancing space because you want to make some money on the side, let's say you're a graphics designer, you might be a writer, you might be an ebook cover designer, you might be a podcast editor, whatever the case is. You know, if you're trying to get into freelancing and you're trying to work kind of on your own and build a clientele and make money on the side, there's a lot of things that people don't tell you. There's some bad things about it that you need to be prepared for. I'm not saying that, hey, stop freelancing altogether because it's bad. No, there's a lot of great positive things when it comes to freelancing, and that can be a video on its own, which I'm sure I will create sometime here soon in the future or have created in the past because I just have so many videos. But some things that you need to really be aware of if you're trying to get into freelancing, I'll mention here in this video. So the first thing that you want to really be aware of and understand is that money is not consistent. It's not going to come on the 1st or the 15th of the month like it does with a regular job. You know, you go into a regular job and you do the work, or even if there is not a lot of work, you'll still get paid for just being there, for your time. Okay, when it comes to freelancing, you need to get a client, you need to get a gig, you need to get paid. There's a lot of things that you have to do in order to bring in the cash and the revenue. You are now your own boss. You are the CEO, the chief of everything officer. So that's what you need to do to make it happen, to bring money on the table. That's your goal as a freelancer, to get money. That's the end goal, right? Of course, you have to keep your clients happy. You have to add value to them, but the result is financial compensation. So when it comes to freelancing, remember, you're not getting consistently paid on a certain specific time frame. So you have to account for that and budget for that because the paycheck's not coming just because you showed up to work today. All right, so let's get into number 2, or reason number 2 is that the benefits. Oftentimes you don't get benefits unless you kind of do your own insurance policy, or you kind of pay into that yourself, or create some kind of policy around it where you get a benefit, sick leave, let's say maternity leave. You don't get that if you're freelancing. If you're sick, well, a project needs to be done, especially if you don't have a team. If it's got to be done, it's got to be done. You know, if you're sick, well, tough luck, too bad. You need to still go through with the project and get it complete because you want to get paid and you need to get your check. You need to complete the project to get your check or get your money finalized. So that's the thing you have to realize and recognize when it comes to freelancing, is that, hey, you don't have medical care, you don't have dental care, you don't have insurance or disability insurance unless you pay for those things kind of personally. You don't have maternity leave, you don't have sick benefits. So that kind of really sucks, especially if you're a person that kind of gets sick fairly often. All right, let's go to reason number 3, is that you don't just work with one, you work with many. So normally when you're a boss or you have a boss and you go into a job, hey, you only really have to please like 1 or 2 people. And then the clients, of course, you still have to please them as well. But ultimately, the boss decides if you're staying on the team or you're not. And you really have to just please 1 or 2 people. As a freelancer, you might be working with, and sometimes when I used to do logo design, I had to deal with 7 to 12 projects at any given day. And now I'm trying to please maybe, let's say, not just the 12 projects, I'm actually trying to please the team or let's say the board that's making decisions for those logos as well, because they might have 4 people making a decision on that logo. And that gets really tough and complicated. So now you're trying to please 20 or 30 people. It's not just one boss. Now, the good news is with numbers, hey, well, if one wasn't that happy, that is okay, because you can't really please everyone in any business that you're in. You try to always please them as best as possible, but sometimes, hey, you just can't fulfill those kind of requirements. So you have to remember and recognize that you're not just pleasing one, you're pleasing many more people beyond that, because you're going to have multiple clients, multiple clientele, multiple businesses, and so forth. All right, let's get into reason number 4, and that is the loneliness. If you're not good with kind of working on your own, if you're not good with dealing with some loneliness, you have to balance that out. So as a freelancer, you have to be able to work on your own. And if you don't have a team, sometimes you have to pair it with other things that you're doing throughout your day to, I guess, balance out the loneliness. Maybe go to the post office if you have things to drop off in the middle of the day. That gets you to interact with people. Maybe go to the gym sometime again in the afternoon, gets you a chance to see other people. Going out for lunch sometimes can be beneficial just to get out of the house if you're working at home. But the loneliness, you have to, kind of balance that out, because otherwise you'll be in this little bubble of your own world. And when I used to do wedding photography, for example, sometimes after a major wedding production and shoot, let's say it was a 2-day wedding maybe, I'm inside for, you buy your groceries, you got maybe a massage scheduled the next day because your back hurts, but I'm inside maybe for 5 or 6 days in a row without interacting with people because I'm editing photos. So that's what I used to do. And you're inside that bubble and you have to deal with kind of the loneliness. So understand that that can happen if you don't have the additional human interaction. All right, let's take a look at the next one, which is number 5. And number 5 is, just like with the benefits, vacation is minimal. So if you're going on vacation, or you want to go on vacation, you have family, you have kids, you have a wife, a husband, a partner. If you're trying to go on vacation, well, maybe you still have projects that are outstanding, projects that need to be done. And if you're freelancing, you're the only one that's taking care of those things. So you have to make sure that those things get done and are completed. So understand and recognize that, hey, your vacation, part of that vacation, you might be working. And you might need to work odd hours, getting up at 2 in the morning in Beijing, so that way you can go ahead and talk to your client in their normal, regular time. So it's not to say that you can't have the benefit of working from anywhere, because you can. If you're freelancing and you're working online or on a computer, you can work from anywhere in the world, but you have to compensate for that during some of your vacation time, or maybe at times with your family that, hey, I might have to take care of this. I might have to answer a phone call during Christmas because there's an issue with a down website or that you need to take care of. All right, let's take a look at the next one. That is number 6, and that is our last one, and that is platform stability can be rocky. So if you look at freelancing, a lot of people, they do freelancing like with websites, and I'll pull one up. When you look at Fiverr.com and you look at Upwork.com, these are some freelancing platforms that you can go ahead and use. But let's say this platform goes down, has a problem, has an issue, or it closes down. It does happen. In the past, there was a platform called Elance, and then it got bought out. Sometimes you might not get approved for these platforms, and other times they now control your sales. I remember when I used to do things, and I used to do things on eBay. I used to sell my logos and those kinds of things on eBay. Back when you could do digital design services on eBay, and all of a sudden they stopped that. They said, well, now we can't do services anymore online. So they stopped that. So I couldn't do banners and logos and those kinds of things. Now that was probably 15 or 20 years ago. But nevertheless, sometimes the platforms do change, and maybe you were ranked top 5 or top 10 in your category, and maybe now you're not. And if you don't have that stability, well, it goes back to point number 1, where money is not consistent. So you have to remember and recognize that if the income is not consistent, if the platform is not consistent, you have to have a little more cushion in your back pocket, in your bank account for those unexpected times and moments. So I hope you got some insight here when it comes to freelancing and some of the crappy things that go along with freelancing. But don't let that scare you, because there's a lot of great benefits to freelancing. It's great for the right type of person, which is a whole different video on its own. But understand these things and take note of them as you get into freelancing. And if you can handle these things and you're okay with it, and maybe you have a job on the side, or you have a full-time job and you just want to freelance kind of in the evening and do it part-time, that's also fine and great. There's nothing wrong with that. but just be aware of these kinds of issues that may come up or be problems for you if you don't know how to deal with it or you struggle dealing with these kinds of things. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me in this week's video and episode. Hope you found it helpful. Be sure to subscribe here on the YouTube channel or join me on my newsletter list by clicking the link right over here. That's where I send out freebies, PDFs, cheat sheets, and all the other good free stuff, along with some discounts and coupon codes to some of my books and video courses. Thanks for joining me, and remember to do what you love, contribute to other people, but most importantly, live life abundantly. I'll see you next time.